I moved to Japan after quitting my job that I was very miserable at, so now I am unemployed, but in Japan. So, how did I do it? May this or may this not be your sign to quit that job. That job was creating so much emotional distress, and I had only been at that job for about 2 years, but it was not for me, and it was not something that I could handle. And I think so many times in life do we feel like we need to prove ourselves and prove that we're worthy, prove that we're good enough, prove ourselves to a world or to a job that couldn't really care less about us. I think when I worked harder to release the need to prove myself, the easier it became to listen to the path that I was supposed to follow. I don't regret being at that job. I've learned so many valuable lessons during my time there, but it came to a point where there was no point in living my life if I was going to be working there. And I just didn't feel like myself. And I was definitely in my villain era for sure. And I think because of that, I was experiencing myself as someone who I didn't enjoy being. And that caused a lot of additional emotional distress to me because I didn't like who I was. As much as I would like to believe that a job is something that you can just leave when you walk out of the door, it's not something that I was able to do because it really affected me and the ways that I navigated my life and myself and the world, and because I think that everything we do every day does have an effect on us, and it was affecting me negatively to a point that I had this health condition, and my doctor strongly recommended that if I will want to recover, that is not the best place for me to do so, and it most likely won't happen as long as I continue to work there. To note, I am only here for 3 months, so I'm not moving here permanently, nor do I think I would want to move here permanently, but this is something that I have been wanting to do for many, many years, but it just never really happened, and I think that is because as much as I wanted it to happen, there was so much resistance at the time when I was trying to make it happen, and I truly believe it is because I needed to experience more life to be where I am now and to be ready to experience the Japan that I'm experiencing right now. When we have such a strong pull or desire for something, there's definitely a reason, but it doesn't always mean that it's going to come immediately. For example, I am in Japan 3 to 4 years later than I actually wanted it to happen, and at some parts of those 3 to 4 years, I didn't even think that I was actually going to be able to experience it. But then when it was time for me to be here, it was one of the easiest things ever. It happened with such ease, so little resistance. Everything just kind of fell into my lap. And I think when we're ready to experience something and we are the versions of ourselves that are meant to experience the thing, it will always happen in that way, most of the time. I'm fortunate enough to have been able to save to do these things. And sometimes that fear of scarcity or that fear of what is going to happen next, it does come up. But something that I find that is really effective is when I listen to those fears, I ask myself if I'm navigating my life with trust or not. And that's how I think I'm building a better relationship also to my intuition, is asking myself, is my trust louder than my fear? Sometimes when I'm having an internal dialogue, I'm asking, is my fear guiding me or is my trust guiding me? And that will give me my answer. And I've been doing this practice of trying to follow my trust a lot more. And somehow it's landed me here. When I first got to Japan, I was staying in my mom's old room, which I think is really significant for me because I never got to meet my mom. She passed away when I was born, and so being able to be in the room that she grew up in and the room that was her own, there's just so much healing internally and externally that's happening for me, especially coming from a workplace that doesn't value you and connecting so much deeper to your roots and to the life and legacies of where you do matter and you are cared for. As human beings, I think that our connection to each other and to a community and to feeling valued in this world is so important. I know it's not always possible to just drop everything and follow our dreams and follow our passions, and there is some sort of privilege with that, and I am so grateful and thankful for my privilege to experience life the way that I am right now. I also want to acknowledge how much hard work goes into that too. I would like to believe that I am so privileged to be in the position that I am in with the assistance of my hard work. And it didn't happen immediately. I was struggling for many months, many years even. I don't want that to be an excuse to sort of stay stagnant and stuck and be like, well, in a few years something's going to happen, because I think that motion has to happen too. But sometimes we are not going to get that experience until we shift the ways that we perceive the world, we perceive ourselves, we perceive our relationships. And sometimes there is not that much change happening in our external life, but those internal shifts that are happening are eventually going to lead down to something greater. I know that a lot of times when we move or when we make big life transitions, it's like we made this move because we did this grind, we did this, and this is how we made it happen. But in my instance, I think that all of the internal work that I did, that's when the external followed. One of the biggest lessons that I'm learning is that following that path to the least resistance, no matter how scary it is, that is not our fear guiding us, that is our trust. Our fear is going to be the thing that stops us from doing that thing. And if I want this video to be anything, I really want it to give that push and that courage to work towards living the life that we want to live. Because not even a month ago, not even 2 weeks ago, I was still working at a place that was consuming so much of my time, causing so much dread, literally aging me. I had aged so much. And my sense of self, my identity, everything is slowly coming back home to myself. I think one of the hardest things about making big transitions in our life is the mental and emotional toll that it can take on you as well, and the preparedness that we have to experience in order to do those things. Of course, we always acknowledge those financial successes and what it physically took to get into the positions that we are, but oftentimes I think we neglect how much internal work it takes to change our lives. There are so many genetic factors, relationship factors, trauma factors, and everything that we do that contribute to those transitions in our life and those fears. I think that the ability to make things happen, of course, takes so much courage that should really be celebrated, cherished, and loved. I don't think I would have ever been ready to move to Japan had I not done the amount of internal work that I did, because I would have always been held back by my fears and my struggles and my mindset of scarcity. Even not feeling worthy of something can really repel, I think, those transitions from happening. I think one of the last times I was in Japan, it was 8 years ago, and I had a really deep relationship to shame. And I think 8 years later, I'm now building a different relationship to Japan and my family and my ancestors. I wouldn't be able to experience this version of Japan had I not been where I am now and experienced life in the ways that I needed to experience life to be here. I believe that I really want this channel and this community to build upon that relationship with all of that internal work that we sometimes neglect to acknowledge. Life is such a beautiful thing, and it is not about healing every aspect of ourselves to become perfect. It is about being able to handle the situations that come along our way with a lot of grace and acceptance, forgiveness, the accountability to do better every single time we're met with challenges and with everyday life. I would really like to acknowledge that we celebrate our triumphs, our challenges. I think with our relationship to health, a lot of times we will talk about fitness and diet. We oftentimes ignore how much responsibility lies in our emotional health. Our belief systems, those are carried through generations and they are passed down to us. There's so much healing and so much life to be had when we accept vulnerability, no matter how difficult, and reintroduce ourselves to the humanness of being alive, connecting with others in a way that allows us to feel more seen and understood by others, but especially by our own self, and to be able to give ourselves the validation that we need to feel worthy, beautiful, valued, seen, appreciated, loved. For me, part of that journey starts in Japan. I actually wanted to be where I am now 3 to 4 years ago, and no matter what I did, no matter how much I tried to make it happen, it just would not happen. And I was met with so much resistance. And within those 3 to 4 years, I've really come to realize a repeated pattern that I would always do is that every time I felt some sort of stagnancy, or I was questioning what I was doing with my life or why I was even here, I would often try to make something out of nothing. And I would do 10,000 things that my heart wasn't fully set on just to try to have something happen out of desperation. Most of the time, if not all the time, it sort of led to nowhere. I finally come to better terms with accepting that I don't need to constantly take action or make something happen externally. I realized that one of the biggest contributing factors to why my external world wasn't moving was because I wasn't ready. My internal world wasn't ready to experience what I wanted yet. But that thing that was creating, the thing that wasn't taking its shape yet, it existed because it's meant for us. But one of the most important things in the humanness of life is experience, more so than our achievements and physical successes. The thing that we desire sometimes will not take its shape because we cannot fathom what it is or how to do it without becoming the person we need to be who knows how to accomplish that thing. So sometimes when our aspirations and ideas are not being met, it's not necessarily because it's not meant for us, it's just not the timing that it's meant to happen at. Patience and knowing healthy ways to take life as it comes is one of the most important factors to achieving our dreams. In changing our internal world, I want to say it's just as difficult, if not more difficult, than the external struggles that we deal with every day, because those everyday encounters that we have, those conversations we have with people, the very mundane things in life that we may think are not significant, every single aspect of that is a decision and it's a choice, and it's so uniquely us. Everything we experience is essentially a mirror to our own self. Every time that we step out of that comfort zone and we really take a moment to reflect on what is actively working and what's not, and then actively working through that and growing and trying to uplift our experience in our community faster, and more life changes we're going to begin to experience. More than anything, it's those little tiny mundane things that we do in our everyday life that changes our life. And the more that we make those changes and celebrate those changes that may seem so insignificant at the time, in a week's time, a month's time, a year's time even, we are going to see how much that ripple effect brings these beautiful things into our life. And it could be like, well, if it takes too long, why would I even do that? The time will pass anyway. And so why not spend the time of our lives growing and experiencing in whatever way, in whatever relationship we have to that, because everybody wants different things. I think when our dreams and our passions show up in our life, it is our responsibility not to get distracted by the fears. All of these years and most of my life, I have always followed those fears. And that I have to be thankful for, because it has given me security. It has given me survival. Something that fear was doing was really limiting my ability to trust myself and affecting my ability to build a stronger relationship to myself and self-love, self-care, self-fulfillment. Because following our trust is so much more than just putting our faith in the universe and being like, okay, well, it's out of my hands, because it's not. It's trusting our own ability to make it happen. It's trusting our own ability that we are going to create this security for ourselves. It's trusting in our own ability to create and keep ourselves safe, fulfilled, and happy. So following our trust is so much more than just this blind trust. It is truly a deeper connection to our sense of responsibility and accountability. And so when those fears come up, I meet them with love and acceptance, and I hear them out, and then I respond with courage and trust. Allow my trust to be louder than my fear, and then I follow that path, and it has led me here. If there is one thing that I would hope this community can take from this, is to ask ourselves, is my trust louder than my fear? And be guided by that. And I'm really hoping to build this community of depth and reflection and growth and so much love, forgiveness, and acceptance. Thank you for being here with me. And I hope that you continue to stick around and we're able to do this journey together.